I like to use the Harbor Freight 6-ton jack stands because they have a bigger footprint, so that's more stability, and also still leave the hydraulic jack lightly supporting the car. So if you haven't already, if you just have like a breaker bar or a ratchet, you want to loosen your or a lug nut wrench, you want to loosen your lug nuts before you lift the car. If you've got air or electric impact, you can do it either after you jack the car up or after you or while it's on the ground. Then you want to take the wheel off. There's the bad ball joint. Actually, the ball joint isn't bad, it's just the seal is. What we need to do now is take off the axle nut. So you need a deep socket. They have special axle nuts. I have like 32, 36, and then I think I have like a 20, 28. But these deep socket impact sockets are probably just about the same thing. So I think this is like the 30. Yeah, it's 30 millimeters. And you want to make sure that you have safety glasses. And if this axle is really rusted, you want to get a wire brush and clean all that rust off. You like a one you can chuck in a drill or an air gun or something. You don't want to try to remove this nut with a lot of rust on it. And so you want to just screw it out. About like that, to protect the axle, because we're going to hit this with a sledgehammer to try to pop the axle out. So that came out real good. And now I have more room. So what I have to do now is remove the cotter pin. For some reason, these ball joints don't have a castle nut. The cotter pin's jammed in there. The other side I had to grind away, cut and then grind away both sides and to get the nut off. That cotter pin was a little bit easier to get out. I straightened the other end, and then the loop on this end, I grabbed it with these, and then I just sort of used it like pried it, hit lever. I used the lever action to keep pulling it. It kept coming out and up, it kept coming out a little bit more, and then it finally came out. So now I got to get a 22 millimeter wrench on that. I think there's enough space to get a box end in there. Sometimes turning the wheel outward makes it a little easier to work on. Usually, if you turn the wheel a little bit, you can pop the axle a little bit out a little bit further in the hub. So now I have enough room to get a box end in there. Had to bang on the end of I put the wrench through on the other side and was banging on it, and finally loosened up. This side's easier to get it to once it's loosened up, to take it off. Once you start turning the nut, you'll get to a point where you won't be able to get your wrench off again. So once you get it loose, it's a good idea to take the wrench off, and then use like an open end wrench to get it the rest of the way off. So the nuts are difficult to get off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the ball joint. So I don't think I can get it off with the open end. And what I'm going to do is pop the ball joint so it'll drop down, and then I can finish taking the nut off. So what you want to do is hit this part of the steering knuckle with a sledgehammer. You don't want to hit up here or down here. You want to hit this right here, what the ball joint goes through, and you want to hit both sides. And then you can pry too while you're doing that, and you don't want to tear this boot. Or this boot. It's loose now. So now I can finish removing it in the castle nut, but it's just a regular nut, which I've never seen before. I took off the nut for the stabilizer link. And you want to make sure to take the snap ring out. This one doesn't really have a snap ring. It's like the same as the other side. It's got this. It's got like it's got a ring. It's just like it's like a C ring, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. Sort of looks like a kind of small piston ring. This is the way I have my setup to remove my ball joint. And what happened was when I loosened it up, one thing I found is if you've got a rusted bolt on anything, whether it's a ball joint, part of the exhaust, part of the control arm, get a wire brush, clean off, use some penetrating oil, like PB Blaster or something, squirt it on there and use a wire brush, get as much of that rust off as you can. And either that, or if you have an some kind of air tool, you can chuck a wire brush in it, or a drill, and clean as much of that rust off. Because what happened is the rust jammed the nut all the way at the end, and then the ball joint started spinning. And I took a jack and put it underneath and pushed it up against the control arm, and it still kept spinning. The only what I had to do is take a sawzall and cut the end of the threaded part off. That's what I set it up as. So here we go again. I used a this other smaller one sits up higher on the ball joint. And what it was doing is it was striking the lower control arm. And that's how easy it is. See, I had to cut through it with because it was just spinning. And you know, I tried prying on the controller, prying it up. Tried putting a jack in, went all the way back seated. Still kept spinning. The only way I could do it was to cut it off, and it's because the end was rusted. And I didn't take the time to clean the threads off. Those are nice and clean, but that's where the nut was. But it had a good life, 150,000 miles. Popped it right out. And you have to pay attention. Some ball joints you can push them in or out either way, but some have see how this has a lip, and it's also got a snap ring. Got them in, well, one of the snap ring was just a C clip like, and you decide to remove that, and then see it's got this ridge, so you can only push it out, and then you have to push it back in. You can't push it out because of this. And I think you see a lot of people say they bend these and break them and everything. I think it's because they're trying to push this out, something like this out. It's not going to push out. And there's the this is my new quick steer ball joint. I don't know what the yellow means. I don't know if that means that it's just been inspected or something. It says 123. That says 123 1328. So it comes with this bag for the rubber seal. Oh, an actual snap ring. The other one had a seat, like a little piece of wire. I tend to find, no matter what car it is, usually the replacement parts are better than the OEM parts. So here's the grease fitting. You always get, if you're going to get a new ball joint, always get one that has a grease fitting, because you can grease it and they last a lot longer. So we're not going to put that on right away until after we press this in. Has a actual castle nut. The other one had another nut on it, just a nut. And see, it's got these for the cotter pin to go through. And with the nut, they had it screwed down. They had this cotter pin wedged in so far I couldn't. What I had to do is just break as much off as I could, and then grind it down. And it's still wedged in the hole, but it's no more good ball joint. I guess the grease is in here. This is just a dust cover. I guess some grease comes out, but that's weird that it's got an opening like that. Really weird. You think water and dirt and stuff will get in there. But let's see. Well, see this goes through the control arm, then the tie rod, or the knuckle, I'm sorry, not tie rod, the steering knuckle comes down onto that, so it probably seals it. Probably moisture and stuff can get out, but nothing can get in unless you drive through a creek or something. I'm going to put in the new ball joint, and if it has a grease fitting, you want to remove it. I'm going to push the new ball joint in. And I need a 22 millimeter wrench. Yep, it's going in. Yep, it's all the way in. This is the setup I used. I just had it directly pushing on the bottom with the anvil from the press. Then you have to have a receiver on the top because it's going up. The ball joint's going up. And don't forget to put the snap ring on. I've already put the snap ring on. So that's the snap ring right there by my thumb. And now I have to put the rubber boot. I've never gotten a ball joint with the boot removed. And it says to put it with this notch inboard. So we're going to do that. Put the little boot on. It's like a little raincoat. Make sure it's all the way around. And when this goes through the steering knuckle, it will push down on this, and it will really mash it down. So when you're pressing the ball joint in, it might not be such a good idea to press on the center, because both of them, I just thought it was, the other one when I did, I thought it was just a coincidence, but it was tough getting the grease fitting back in. I think what it does, it flattens it, it might close the hole a little bit. So it'd be better to push on this inside, or this ring around the outside, if you have one. But the kit that I have doesn't have anything that small. And although I like Harbor Freight tools, I've started checking on eBay before I buy something at Harbor Freight Tools, and usually a lot of the times I can get stuff that's has more in the kit, or it's actually almost the same and it's less. But I mean, I hate to say that because I really like Harbor Freight Tools, but it is what it is. And for what I paid for this ball joint set from them, I could have gotten one with a lot more components and for about $20 less. And it looks the same. I mean, the C-frame or whatever, and the anvil and all, most of the components look the same quality and everything. So that's just a tip I wanted to pass along. And don't forget the cotter pin. Now you want to put your axle nut on to the correct torque, and don't forget the cotter pin. Tighten the axle nut down to the torque specified. And then put a cotter pin through. Put the wheel on, and then it's done. Do not forget to reattach the end of the control arm.